let's start to appreciate that there's an intelligence to your body that you may not completely understand, but when you start to communicate with it and you start to really listen, what a fabulous collaboration. Welcome to Intuition, your success compass. I'm Vicki. Thank you for being here and for listening, subscribing, and taking me along with you on wherever we're traveling to when you're listening to this, or if we're snuggled up in a comfy chair with a good cup of tea, whatever we're doing. I am so happy to be there. And this is a good conversation, maybe to be snuggled up in a chair with a good blankie, because I have for about 6 months now been thinking about doing a podcast about my experiences, but also my experiences with my clients about menopause and perimenopause. And then thought, you know what? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a medical professional. There are my disclaimers. I shouldn't butt my nose in here. And then I thought, you know what? But I am someone going through it. And I am someone who can often articulate what's going on when others find it difficult to find the words, which is very funny if you're going through this, because in perimenopause and in menopause, there's a thing where your words just leave. They just leave. The other day, I couldn't remember the word for lamp. I called it that thing that's glowing in the corner. And if you don't have humor around this, you will lose your ever-loving mind. But if you don't know about it, you may think you're losing your ever-loving mind. And I feel like it has not been talked about a lot. It has not been discussed a lot, but it is more now. And why is that? Well, you got Gen Xers like myself who didn't really get an edit button or a filter installed, and that weren't really taught anything growing up. So now we're like, okay, if I know something, you are going to know something. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And I'm going to be honest about it, but I also want to help you. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this episode. And it was maybe TMI. I have an appointment with my OBGYN later to follow up on a previous appointment. So perfect timing on podcast recording day. And then as a funny aside, if you have been in the process of perimenopause or menopause, and I'll go into my lay person description of what that is shortly, you know that along with the brain fog and a brain fart, the object impermanence seems to get bigger. For the longest time, I had a sticky on here on my desk that said men-o-pause. And then I had a line underneath it that was really good. I can't find it. I don't know what I did with it. I'm organized. I like system. Can't find it. So I have to believe that spirit has interrupted here, and we're not going to go with whatever it was I wrote down 6 or 7 months ago. We're going to go with what I've come to know in the last 6 months of going through this myself, that there's a softness that's happening that wasn't there before. So perimenopause, in case you're not aware, and everyone needs to be aware. You humans in your life, you need to educate yourself on this. Gone are the days where men or male presenting don't need to know about this because it's not happening with their body. You do. If you're in a relationship with anybody, get rid of the embarrassment thing or the idea that it doesn't matter because you're not going through it, because that's self-centered and not going to work for long in your relationship. And I'll tell you what in a bit. So perimenopause can start in your mid-30s, and it's the period where, bad choice of words there, but it's the time where your menses start to change, your hormones start to change up, and your body actually starts preparing for this time of menopause when you have no menses at all. So menopause is actually like a date that happens, and that's when you've gone 12 months without a period. And that's, in the medical profession, that's what they'll tell you. As a person going through it, that stinking calendar restarts over and over again, to the point where I actually decided, you know what? I'm in menopause. I'm going to stop listening to them because to keep restarting it for a couple days seemed ridiculous. So as you amp up to this place of having no cycle, which is still amazing, there's so many changes going on, but so many people don't know about this. And when I'm working with someone and I'll ask them, do you feel like your hormones are out of whack? Or if there's an issue with your retention, brain retention, fogginess, and it's not just busyness or too much caffeine and not enough water. And I had people say to me, Vicki, I'm only 35. And I'm like, oh, honey, let me help you with that, of which I did not know about. And I have quite a few older sisters, and I've asked them about this and they still gloss over it. And I'm like, I don't understand what the big deal is. This is a bodily function. It's kind of like everybody poop, like relax and let's share information so people feel less alone. Now, I also want to talk about the spiritual connection to menopause, because let me tell you, it's phenomenal. And I want everybody to embrace this time frame, this process. And then I want us to teach the younger females that are coming up in their own soul's journey and their own physical human journey, so that they can learn to appreciate it, to see it as something beautiful and expansive. So if you recently, well, not even recently, if you've experienced some of the joys of perimenopause and going into menopause and your hormones fluctuating and everything, there are some weird ones. Like itchy ears. My ears were so itchy. I was convinced somehow, not really, but go with me here, that I had a yeast infection in my ears, that I used to have a lot of contact dermatitis before I worked on my own nervous system. Like my skin showed it where my stress level was. And I thought, ooh, we're going back to that. Okay, something new in my environment. I did move twice during that time. So, but the itchy ears thing and itchy skin, and I haven't experienced the temperature surges too much, but I think that's likely because I'm always cold anyway. I would welcome a warm surge occasionally. It has happened, but not much. There's the brain fog, and I'm going to tell you about the stuff that is not so great, and then we're going to talk about the stuff that I find phenomenal. Because the not so great you can work with if you have some information that you're not falling apart, you're not doing something wrong. This is your body changing, and it is a beautiful thing. And yet, you have to be your own advocate, and you have to speak up for what you're experiencing, and then you have to educate yourself. So as you go through this process, it may not be consistent. Like you could have some issues in your late 30s, be totally cool for a few years, and then start having it show up later in life. For me, I'm 54 now, and I can officially say I'm in menopause. And mine, typically people go through it at 49 to 51, according to the stats and everything that I looked up in the research I did. But I have had a chiropractor that once said to me, "It's great you're not, Vicki. It means you're healthy." And I'm like, spoken like a true dude. You know what? After 40 years of this, I'm kind of done. But anyway, the process can show up for you at any point. So the more you know about it and the more we educate those around us, it can be something that is celebrated. You are becoming the matron energy. You are becoming into a place of more wisdom. And if you don't fight your body and get mad at your body, I see so many people, on social media and stuff getting mad at their body. And I'm like, well, you know what? That's going to create more instances of hot flash. That's going to create a discord within your body, because then your body hears everything you say to it and everything you think. So if you're not agreeing to help it out a little bit, then it's going to throw a fit as well. And I think it's really important, if you are fortunate enough to have a medical practitioner or a support system in that regard, that you have these open conversations. When I spoke, I love my primary care. And when I spoke to her, she immediately wanted to put me on like anxiety medicine. And I said to her, listen to me. I am not an anxious person. I am feeling anxiety. I know it's related to the perimenopause, the menopause process. I don't want to cover it up. I want to embrace this. I want to understand what's going on with my endocrine system, with my reproductive system, with my autoimmune, because I also have Hashimoto's. Like, I want to understand what's happening here. And she just wanted to cover it up. And I said, respectfully, give me a referral, because I'm not going to do that. And it takes advocating for yourself and not feeling like they know about this. Most of our medical professionals get a month's training in this. Even your OBGYN are not that up on hormonal imbalances and just the process in general and respecting it. And I am grateful that I have gotten over not gotten over, but I have healed and worked through my people-pleasing place where I could say to the doctors, listen to me, this is my body and I will take responsibility for it, but you're the one with a degree that can help me get to the support that I need. And I did several years homeopathically, and they came to the point where I actually said to my OBGYN, who's just an amazing guy, if you are in the Eastern New York area, Dr. Baker in Albany is just amazing. But I said to him, I need HRT, which is hormone replacement therapy. And the reason I think it's HRT is because without it, I'm going to hurt someone. And it's not my personality to be angry at people or to be anxious. That's how I know this is something different. My life is amazing. Everything's in balance everywhere else. And I still feel like I'm going to crawl out of my skin. And it's being able to advocate for yourself that is one of the benefits of going through the perimenopause and through menopause. Now, you may have to listen to your emotions. You may have to face some doubts that you have within you about speaking to the medical professional, or you may just have frustration. You have to find a new doctor. And yes, I know how challenging that is. I do know how challenging that is, at least here in the States. So, but if you don't embrace the change that's going on, likely you're going to contribute to being even more miserable. And I'm not saying any of it is a walk in the park and kumbaya beautiful. Some of it downright exhausting, especially sleep disturbances. So there's that too. So much is incredibly affected by our hormones. And like, listen, the more you know, the more you'll enjoy this process. And embracing the change of it, part of entering into menopause or this process can help you embrace the beauty of change, because change is inevitable. It is one of the things in life that we are all going to experience on a daily basis. You know, what you thought your day was going to be like, but probably by the end of the day, something within it changed. And the more we embrace change, the more resilient we are, the more we enjoy the process of being human. So as you go through this transition, having some grace and having some acceptance that, oh yeah, one of the things that was for me was having tendon pain. Like my tendons became very, very tight, which was already an issue I had. And they just places hurt that I didn't even know. And it wasn't related to a workout. It wasn't related to anything else. I'm like, it just feels like it won't stretch. And that's one of the things that happens when you're estrogen dipped. You become less flexible. So it's important to be in touch with your body and connect with your body enough that you get to prioritize a little bit of self-love here. Understanding that we're not waiting for the time to go to the spa for self-care, that you're participating on a daily basis in some form of self-awareness and listening to you and creating that connection with self. And if it's never been there, if you've been someone who's just kind of plowed through and never really figured out how to connect with your body, this would be a great time to take a yoga class to help with that flexibility too. Started doing Pilates more, and to have moments of quiet and introspection and journaling, because I promise you, with these hormonal changes, you will have both an emotional clarity that'll blow your mind, as well as you can have an emotional awareness that has you experience pain or things you didn't see before, which is that clarity. But if you can get excited about that clarity and be like, ooh, I'm going to learn more about myself. Well, that's part of the reason we're here as a soul, is to enjoy why we're here and learn to love ourselves. So bring it, menopause. So the acts of self-connection and self-awareness, and yes, self-love, we have to pause, use the pause of menopause for this. Pause and get to know yourself. And I know that not everyone is in a place of their life when they go through this that they have less responsibilities, but a good portion of us do. And I think this is, again, where including everyone in your household and not just using it as an excuse to be a biatch, but actually saying, listen, I'm going through a lot here and I'm asking for your support and I'm going to be taking some space for myself. And then keep doing that after you go through menopause. Because this is one of the benefits of expanding the wisdom and connecting more into your intuition. There's actually a chemical process and a physiological process that happens when we're in our early 40s, where your frontal lobe stops being the most prevalent connector, and your intuition, which is right about here in your brain, you're on your right side, where the intuitive brain connection is, and you start being able to receive more messages from your own soul, from spirit, source, God, guides, angels, whomever your support system is. So that begins in the early 40s, and I don't think that's a winky dink. It happens for all humans, all humans. So it is a time where male presenting can become more aware of their own femininity and their own connection to that, and be grateful for it. Because, it's challenging in our languaging that we use masculine and feminine energy to describe frequency, and then our brain makes it about what we've been dogmatically taught about male and female. So when I talk about embracing the masculine and the feminine energy, that is your whole spirit self. Every one of us has that flowing through us. So as this process happens in your early 40s, it's opening the door to using your intuition more, to accessing your helpers, and to feeling more sure of who you are. And that's one of the gifts of going through this process. And the emotional clarity, like I said, some hormonal changes will lead to that clarity. And some of the clarity may be, like in my case, where I was like, you know what? I'm done editing. I'm going to say, this is what I want. This is how we're going to do it. How can we work together? What's your professional opinion? What's mine personal opinion and my knowing? And how can we get to the place where I have some energy? I feel lit up. I don't feel this anxiousness. And I don't feel like all of my tendons are tightening up on me. So it gives you the somewhat permission to speak clearly, but you are still responsible for the delivery. Okay, it still needs to be delivered in kindness. And then through this process, there can be listen, you're responsible for the process, but there can be a wisdom accumulation, a wisdom collecting, if you will. It provides a deeper well or a deeper knowledge base to connect in with and to appreciate. Like I have found during my process when I was conscious enough to be like, ooh, okay, this is what's going on, late perimenopause, heading into menopause. I have found more of a connection with nature. I feel more connected to those trees out there, to grounding, to having my feet in the earth, to gardening, a way to nourish that part of me that will no longer give birth, although I made that decision 30 years ago. But there's still a desire in there. And this wisdom that I came to was, oh, I have a need and a desire and a want to still nourish. Well, what can I do without adopting another animal or kid? Because I know I'm at my max. So the wisdom accumulation, you start paying attention more to the messages that are coming through. And it creates, like I said earlier, the communication style where you're no longer as concerned about how people are going to receive your communication or what you're asking for. And to me, that's an inner strength. It's a reminder that you have gone through life's challenges before. You have become more aware of your body through other reasons. You are resilient in ways that you don't even know. So embracing that and recognizing that there's an inner strength to having your period every month, or dealing with PCOS, or having endometriosis. Been there, sister. All of this stuff, there's an inner strength that we don't talk about, and I think it's time we did. And I feel like in the process of embracing that and feeling, I'm going to say entitled to it, because I feel like I earned this place that I'm in right now, to know who I am, to be able to speak of who I am, and to be unapologetically me. And, that strength that's in there does not have to be pushed on anyone, but it does have to live within me, and that's self-love. And I want that for you too. So as you have this emotional clarity happening, I am going to encourage this so much, that you take time for yourself, that you tune in to yourself. If you don't pause, you may find that your body kicks up and is yelling at you. So perhaps your kids are older, you can allow them to have more independence, which would be good for them because they have to learn how to be an adult in the world. Let's not keep raising kids, let's raise adults. And you can dial back and figure out who you are too, so that you have a renewed energy about life. Because as the hormones fluctuate, some days it's like you get a million things done in a day, and not in a hectic kind of frenetic way, but just in a do way. And other times, that comfy chair that I talked about in the beginning will keep calling your name with the blankie, with the book, with the cup of tea. So there is a process of renewing energy, because especially if you can connect with nature, because as nature goes through its cycle, you watch that, whether in seasons or growing see, menopause brain. There it goes. Food products. We'll call them food products. Well, I'm glad this is an accurate depiction of what can happen. This is a lot better than it was. So your connection with nature, when you appreciate that it goes through a cycle and it doesn't complain about it. Like nature doesn't whine about it. And it just rolls on through and experiences this. And we could embrace that too and be appreciative. And yes, I know there have been messages about, women being of less value once they reach a certain age, but that really is changing. There is an influx of feminine energy that's throwing those that are still knuckle draggers off. It is complete. It is causing some disruption there, but we need that too. But we age, and as we appreciate the aging process, we can change that narrative, and we can bring and a renewed blessing to this, and then also show up in ourselves authentically. So when I'm feeling, less than stellar about me, I always look to nature, and I'll be like, okay, yes, that tree fell down, but the tree served its purpose during that time. Or as we deal with aging animals in this house, we're like so grateful that we're able to help them, but also see how wonderfully they've lived their lives and what they've experienced. So menopause encourages authenticity. And if you're in perimenopause, or if you're 19 when you're listening to this, fabulous. Start doing this now. Become comfortable in your own essence, in your own skin. Your soul chose you and only you. And it's on this quest for you to really like who you are. In any of our process with Menses or the pause of Menses, I think is a call from our spirit self to say, well, who do you know today? Who are you today? What have we learned about ourselves? Is there a femininity quality, or feminine quality rather, that we can bring in to us and nurture as nature does? So show up in yourself authentically, in whatever that means. And that will spread around you too, because the more you feel your self-surety and knowing of who you are, the calmer you will be. And it is a beautiful thing. One of the things this process has given me is an experience of asking myself, what do I need to let go of? Like, what do I need to release? As I'm releasing this process of having a cycle every month, which I really enjoy, because I didn't enjoy the endometriosis, but I really enjoyed having the release from having my period. It felt to me to be cathartic and a releasing. Well, now I have to create that for myself. And one of the ways I've done it actually is through different forms of exercise. I decided that I'm still going to do the strength training and all of that because that's really great for my body and my muscle tone and all of that. But I'm also going to only do movement that I really enjoy. And lately I've been doing the infinity hoop as a challenge with one of my clients. And I'm having a really good time with that. You know why? It's not hard. It's really easy for me. And yet you will feel things in your buttocks and in your waist and all of that. But mostly it's a joy to do. It's meditative. The sound is not as clanky as you hear it in the videos, if you're doing it well and if you get the original. But this is not a sponsored thing. I in no way affiliated, except to say that I'm thoroughly enjoying allowing myself to move my body in ways that even 3 years ago, that the old voice would not have allowed. It would have said, nope, you have to do those hard workouts. You have to do, the things that get your heart rate really up there and that burn a ton of calories. And I'm like, nah, I actually don't. What I have to do is I have to move my body. I have to be limber. I have to make sure I can get up off the floor. I'm not a lightweight. So if I fall down, I need to be able to make sure I can get back up without us calling, a hoist in. So being able to let go of the pressure I put on myself, but also societal expectations. Like, I don't care if I'm ever less than a size 12. That's what I am. And my body works incredibly well. And I don't care anymore what may have been said to me about what is beauty or what is power. And releasing that and letting go is, to me, each month, what I do is I choose something else to let go of. And I do it kindly. And it's become the replacement for my cycle. And I choose the whatever belief I'm aware that needs to go, or I let go of the pressure I put on myself so that when I'm doing the hoop or Pilates or going for a walk with the most adorable dog on the planet, that I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Or going for a bike ride. We went for a 30-mile bike ride, and previously my brain would have been calculating the numbers at every mile. It's just I put so much pressure on myself to prove that I could do this bike ride. And I was like, you know what? I don't need to do that. I want to appreciate this bike ride. I want to get as much joy out of it as I possibly can, including that really bumpy part. My goodness, it felt like I was in a popcorn popper or something. But even going through that, I'm like, well, this is kind of funny. And I'm learning to ride standing up. That was one of my goals this year of riding, to get on that. So letting go of the pressure that you've put on yourself, or maybe somebody else entered that into your head, is one of the gifts of this process. And you know what else is a gift that's just occurring to me, but that I did not write down? Is if we're going through this process, we are still here. We are here physically. That is a gift. That is a gift, to be sucking oxygen and having other opportunities to learn and to grow. And yes, we learn in the non-physical, but I really want to encourage you to hear that each day that you are here is a gift to experience. And sometimes that gift is wrapped in really crappy paper. And it's not, I don't want you to say, today was a gift, and be fake about it. But I do want you to appreciate that, yes, I am here physically. I do get to experience what's going on. And I'm going to let go of critiquing myself, because that's the gift I can give myself today. As I said earlier, your intuition will go through the roof. And what it will also tie, that's really funny because your intuition does come through part of your roof in your human brain. But what is happening is this beautiful combination of being much more into yourself and others with a little bit less of a filter or a tolerance. And it's not that you're telling everybody what you think of them without thinking of kindness or direction. What happens is your tolerance for BS just goes out the window. You just have no tolerance. You're like, not going to do it, and choose to maybe not associate, or maybe you change your business, or there is a high level of divorce in this age span of 46 to 54 because, and I think largely because of some of these changes, the stuff that you may have been willing to put up with in a relationship or tolerate is no longer available to you. And that's a beautiful thing, because we shouldn't be in relationships that aren't reciprocal or loving. Now, on the other side of that, relationships can improve because it can foster more open communication and empathy. And that's why I said earlier, have the conversations with the people in your life, with your friends, with your partner, to say, let me give you insight into what's going on in my body, in my brain, in my heart. Great time for therapy. Oh, it's a good time for therapy, frankly. But menopause and perimenopause can really encourage us to open up that heart place and to feel like it's okay to do that too. Because in essence, it can be seen as a rebirth. It's like shedding the old way of being and stepping into a new phase of life in a way that embraces like who you are, and you may have more awareness of yourself and your soul, because some of the other fluff and some of the other things that may have distracted you before are just not prevalent. And there's so much going on that it is important to have, I think, a plan. I decided, when I was going through it, that I was just going to float right through. I was not going to have any of the issues other people had because, I've always been healthy. This is going to be easy. And I will say, it's not been easy, but it's been acceptable, manageable. And then I got in there and did the research. And I will link some of the things that have helped me, some supplements that I've taken. I am not a medical professional. I am not suggesting you take these. I'm just saying that these helped me and they could help you. There's a supplement called DIM, and no, I cannot say the whole thing, that I had found to help me manage the beginning, because you're in perimenopause for 10 years or so, but you manage the shift from perimenopause into menopause. And what it does is it naturally goes and looks in your body and find the estrogen that's being produced because you naturally produce it, but it gets hidden behind some organs. So it's a wonderful natural product that was incredibly helpful for me and helped reduce the anxiety. I found castor oil applied externally really helped with the process as well. It helped with the calming. You don't want to do it every night because the detox thing can be challenging. So do your research there. Dr. Barbara O'Neill is an amazing resource for castor oil information. Exercise is incredibly important. You got to move that body. Your body is meant to move. To the degree that it can move your body. If you are not able to get out for a walk, that is okay. What can your arms do? Can you march in place in your chair? Just move the body because you want to move the lymphatic system and you want to have water running through you. And you just want to ground and appreciate. It will help with the emotional roller coaster of this process. And in total transparency, 3 months ago, I went on hormone replacement therapy because the information that was out there about it being dangerous was extremely misleading. And yes, there are those that should not take it, but thankfully you actually shouldn't be on it without a medical professional following you. And it's made a big difference. I was a little allergic to the first one they put me on. That was fun. But once we straighten that out, it's been amazing to feel like more myself than I felt before. But most of this is because I decided that I was going to really appreciate this physical vessel that my soul chose. And I would love for you to do that for yourself too. Because it is a time to think about legacy. It is something that can have you considering, well, what is it and who is it that I would like to be known for? How do I want to nurture the world? I'm not saying you have to take the whole world home. No. But how do you want to be upheld? How do you want to offer your wisdom, your knowledge? Menopause is a unique and beautiful phase in a woman's life. It's filled with the opportunities for growth and self-discovery. What was it? Louise Hay, who started her business, Hay House Publishers, when she was 62. There's so many examples of great leaders that we have and great souls, not just leaders, but souls that are in our world that when they arrived in this place, embraced it with love, appreciation, the wisdom, and a whole heck of a lot of humor along with it. So I wish this for you. I am grateful to be able to share this information on this platform. And if there's any way that I can help you, please let me know. Let's start to appreciate that there's an intelligence to your body that you may not completely understand. But when you start to communicate with it and you start to really listen, what a fabulous collaboration. And your eternal self has gone through this before, maybe not to the extent because we are living longer and longer. So tap into it. What is the gift that the idea of menopause can be for you? And if you're someone who's experienced it as a result of a hysterectomy and you got slammed right into it, so much compassion for you. But also, same message, embrace it. Use the process to be one of self-discovery and awareness so that you're not being tough on yourself, and get good nutrition. I will see the next episode. Make sure to subscribe, like the podcast, and let me know how it's helped you. Take care. Thank you for listening to this episode of Intuition, Your Success Compass. I appreciate you being here. If you would like more information about developing your intuitive skills, removing those blocks, and creating the life that feels the most successful to you, then head on over to vickybaird.com. That's VICKIBAIRD.com. And check out the courses, the groups, and the Spaces app that will allow you to be part of our community and know about upcoming events and specials. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.